Okay, get this. 1964. Just weeks, literally weeks, before the Tokyo Olympics are set to open, the Emperor of Japan dispatches an envoy. Not to meet another world leader, no. They're sent to an 800-year-old tomb, the mission, to perform rituals and basically beg the spirit of a long-dead medieval ancestor for peace and stability for the nation.
That's pretty stunning, isn't it? You've got modern Japan about to host the entire world, feeling this pressing need to appease a ghost, an 800-year-old grudge. That really tells you something profound about the sheer power this figure still holds in the Japanese imagination.
Absolutely. So let's unpack that. Our mission today is a deep dive into this incredible story, the saga of Emperor Sutoku. And just to be clear, this isn't just some spooky old ghost story. It's really a huge, agonizing tragedy. We're talking political backstabbing, sacred texts used for curses, and the actual collapse of a 700-year imperial system.
Right. And the sources, they really paint Sutoku's story as this almost perfect storm. You have immense political knowledge, deep personal piety. But when that's rejected, just completely thrown back in your face by your own family, it curdles. It becomes this incandescent rage. He ends up as one of the Nihon Sandai Onryō, the three great vengeful spirits of Japan. He's almost the archetype, the blueprint for that kind of cursed energy.
Okay, so where does it all begin? The sources point to this really toxic family dynamic right from the start. Sutoku, born Prince Akihito in 1119, his entire life seems poisoned by this one rumor.
A really lethal piece of court gossip. The word was that he wasn't actually the son of Emperor Toba. The rumor claimed he was the illegitimate child of Toba's own grandfather, the really powerful retired Emperor Shirakawa. They called him the uncle child.
Wow. Uncle child, just the label itself, that must have been devastating. And true or not, that rumor just shattered the relationship with his supposed father. Toba resented him, like, intensely, publicly, for his whole life.
Yeah. And to really understand how this plays out, you need to grasp the power structure back then, in the late Heian period. The emperor sitting on the throne, mostly symbolic. The real power, well, that was wielded by the retired emperors. It's a system called insei, cloistered rule.
So the reigning emperor was basically a figurehead, a puppet almost.
Pretty much, yeah. Sutoku gets put on the throne when he's just 3 years old in 1123. He's essentially a pawn for Shirakawa, the grandfather who might have actually been his father. Then Shirakawa dies, and Toba Sutoku's official father, who hates him, steps into that power vacuum.
Ah, the patriarchal puppeteer, right. Toba.
Right, and Toba just systematically engineers Sutoku's downfall. He forces him to abdicate in 1142. And Toba's goal here is absolutely ruthless. Cut Sutoku's line off from the throne entirely, and crucially deny Sutoku the chance to ever become a powerful retired emperor himself.
So his own father basically lets him play emperor for 20 years, then yanks the rug out from under him, making sure he can never access that real power, the insei status, that level of betrayal. I mean, conflict seems almost inevitable after that.
Absolutely. Sutoku knew his entire lineage was basically finished unless he did something drastic. And that leads straight into the final conflict.
Yeah.
The Hōgen Rebellion in 1156. It's Sutoku's last desperate gamble. He's trying to reclaim some standing against his younger brother, Emperor Go-Shirakawa, who is Toba's favorite son.
And the sources say it was over fast, a quick, brutal defeat for Sutoku. He's captured, and his punishment, exile. Yeah. Sent off to Sanuki province, this really remote, rustic place on Shikoku Island.
Yeah, the humiliation was just total. Think about it. Ripped from Heian-kyu, modern Kyoto, which was this incredibly sophisticated, glittering capital. And he's dumped in this provincial backwater, isolated. The contrast just fuels his despair, you know, and it sets the scene for what happens next.
Right, this is the turning point, the pivotal act. In exile, he's lost everything, power, prestige, family, so he turns to piety, like extreme piety, trying to atone for the rebellion's bloodshed.
Exactly, an incredible act of devotion. He decides to transcribe the 5 great Mahayana sutras. These are major sacred texts meant for purification, for salvation.
And the legend. It says he didn't just use regular ink?
No. The accounts claim his devotion was so intense, so absolute, he wrote them using his own blood, drawn from his fingertips. Think about that. It's not just writing, it's like he's pouring his own imperial life force onto the page as this ultimate spiritual offering. The sheer spiritual weight of that, it's hard for us to even grasp today.
Wow. So these blood sutras, filled with this desperate hope for atonement, he sends them back to Kyoto. It's a plea, right, for reconciliation. But his brother, Go-Shirakawa, the emperor, he doesn't see it that way.
No, he sees danger. He's paranoid, maybe understandably. He rejects the sutras completely, famously asks, has Sutoku sent us a curse?
Yeah.
And that That was the fatal mistake, the final rejection.
Wait, though, I mean, a sacred text offered for atonement but written in blood?
Yeah.
Could the court really have seen that as anything but potentially dangerous, even if Sutoku meant it well? Blood magic is potent, good or bad.
That's the heart of the tragedy, isn't it? We don't know if it was just paranoia or a reasonable fear given the medium, but the effect on Sutoku was shattering. That moment when his ultimate act of faith, written in his own lifeblood, is just thrown back at him. All that intense piety, it just snaps. It twists instantly into this consuming, white-hot rage.
And that rage becomes physical, right? The story gets really dark here. He supposedly bites his own tongue to draw fresh blood.
Yeah.
And uses that blood to write a new message on the sutras, consciously turning them from salvation into a curse.
The transformation is complete. And he makes this terrifying vow, this prophecy: I shall become a mighty demon. I shall cause the emperor to be made low and the lowly peasant to be exalted.
So he goes from being the symbol of imperial refinement and Buddhist piety to actively choosing to become this terrifying, almost demonic figure.
Exactly. He stops all his religious practices, lets his hair grow wild, his nails turn into claws. Yeah. He essentially lives out his last days looking like a Tengo, one of those wild mountain goblins or demons.
And the omens around his death in 1164, they're just grotesque. His body didn't decompose for like 20 days.
That's what the chronicles say. And during the journey to cremate him, a huge storm hits. And afterwards, the stones around where his coffin rested were supposedly found soaked in fresh, dark blood. Then his ashes, they say they drifted like a dark cloud, heading straight for Kyoto.
Chilling. The message couldn't be clearer. The curse is coming.
And the court certainly believed it. The supernatural fallout, according to the records, was pretty immediate and devastating. About 12 years later, around 1176-77, things started happening. Mysterious deaths. 4 really high-ranking nobles just dropped dead. Then the huge Inga fire rips through Kyoto in 1177, destroys maybe a third of the capital. And the nobles writing in their diaries, they're explicit: this is Sutoku's ghost, his onryō.
And if you look at the bigger picture, that prophecy he made, the emperor made low, the lowly peasant exalted, it actually came true, didn't it? With chilling accuracy.
It really did. Just a few decades after his death, you get the establishment of the Kamakura shogunate in 1185. This marks the rise of the samurai class people. The high-end nobles absolutely saw as lowly peasants taking real political power, and the emperor, reduced to a largely symbolic figurehead for the next 700 years. Just like Sutoku vowed.
So this is where that idea you mentioned comes in, the elite folklore theory.
Exactly. The legend of Sutoku's curse becomes this incredibly convenient narrative for the declining aristocracy. They didn't lose power because of, systemic political failures or economic shifts. No. It was an inescapable cosmic curse unleashed by a wronged emperor. It wasn't their fault.
That's a brilliant piece of historical spin, actually. So let's talk about the forms this curse takes. He isn't just one kind of monster in the stories, is he?
No, he manifests in a couple of key ways. First and foremost, he's an onryō. That's a specific type of vengeful spirit, someone powerful who died with this burning grudge, this onryō. Onryō cause large-scale disasters, plague, fire, famine, political chaos. Sutoku is one of the big 3, the Nihon Sanda onryō. But he's also seen as a daitengu, a great tengu, a powerful mountain demon.
Okay, what's the difference there, mythologically speaking?
Well, the Tengu form represents the corruption of his sacred status. All that imperial pride, his deep Buddhist learning, it gets twisted into something destructive. Instead of using his knowledge for enlightenment, like with the sutras, he becomes this powerful, arrogant demon, often associated with misleading monks or causing chaos in the mountains. It's the complete inversion of his pious intentions.
We talked about the political climate being ready for this, but the underlying beliefs were key too. We mentioned inga karma, cause and effect. Go Shirakawa's rejection leads to disaster. What else was going on?
The other huge factor was the idea of mappo, the latter day of the law. This was a widespread Buddhist belief that society was entering a degenerate age, an era of spiritual decline and chaos. And in the 12th century, with all the political instability, the wars, the famines, well, it felt like mappo had arrived.
So the general chaos of the times made people feel like they were already living in the end times, basically, which makes a massive supernatural curse seem, well, almost logical.
Exactly. The world already felt like it was falling apart. Sutoku's dramatic, violent transformation, his powerful curse, it just became the perfect explanation, the perfect embodiment of that chaotic age.
So you've got this incredibly powerful, angry spirit, possibly the most dangerous ghost in Japanese history. What do? In the West, you might think exorcism.
But in Japan, particularly with spirits this powerful, The traditional response isn't exorcism, it's appeasement. The practice is called goryō. The idea is you honor the spirit, you build shrines, you even deify it. You try to turn that destructive energy into a protective force. Essentially, you don't fight the ghost, you try to co-opt it, make it a guardian kami.
And the most significant act of appeasement for Sutoku came much, much later, didn't it? In 1868.
Yes, during the Meiji Restoration, Emperor Meiji was trying to unify the country and establish this new imperial government on solid footing. So he formally invites Sutoku's spirit back from exile, symbolically speaking, brings him back to Kyoto, and enshrines him at Shiramine Shrine. It was a very deliberate political act to neutralize this centuries-old threat and sort of ritually cleanse the imperial line for the new era.
Which brings us full circle, right back to 1964 and the Tokyo Olympics. Emperor Hirohito sending envoys to Sutoku's tomb. It just shows that even in the mid-20th century, with Japan becoming this modern industrial power, there was still this belief right at the very top that Sutoku's spirit could still cause real-world trouble.
The fear lingered. It's politically potent, even now. And the story itself, it just keeps echoing through culture. You have writers like Ureda Akinari in the Edo period, whose story, Shiramine, really cements that terrifying image of Sutoku as this spectral emperor. You see him in ukiyo-e woodblock prints as the demonic Tengu.
And it's not just old history. This concept is alive in modern pop culture, isn't it? I know he shows up in the mobile game Fate Grand Order as an Avenger-class servant. That class is specifically for heroes defined by vengeance.
He really is a cultural touchstone. Sutoku isn't just some historical footnote. He's arguably the blueprint for what modern Japanese horror like Jujutsu Kaisen calls cursed energy. That core idea that overwhelming human emotions like hatred and anger can literally manifest as destructive physical forces that warp reality. You can trace that right back to Sutoku and his blood curse.
So, the whole saga, political scheming, a paranoid brother, a sacred text written in blood, it all culminates in arguably the greatest curse in Japanese history, one that toppled an empire and haunted the nation for centuries.
And that really leaves us with the final thought, the provocative takeaway maybe. This terrifying ghost, the one blamed for the empire's decline, the one they still felt they needed to appease before the Olympics. At the end of the day, was the legend itself a kind of political tool? Did Sutoku's curse allow the old aristocracy to explain away their own failures, their loss of power, due to very real political and economic reasons, not as their fault, but as this grand, unavoidable cosmic tragedy orchestrated by an emperor's righteous fury?
A truly powerful and maybe convenient historical scapegoat, and apparently a very effective one if they're still trying to keep him happy nearly 900 years later.